welcome back to my channel. My name is Onye and I'm grateful to have you here. Today we are going to be talking about moving out of the country, specifically the United States of America, moving internationally to other countries. Now, if you have been following my journey, I currently live in Costa Rica. I'm actually in between Costa Rica and New York and Massachusetts. Those are the main areas where I find myself, but mainly I have been living in Costa Rica. Now, if you are interested in leaving the United States, which many people have since 2020, many people have been doing it before 2020, but 2020 has been a mass exodus, so to speak, and it continues to be as things change, things evolve or devolve, as we grow as humans, and as things change. I'll leave it there. And so there are a few things that I want to offer you to think about before making the transition. It's either a permanent transition, or a temporary transition, or it's a part-time transition. Whatever it is, I have some things for you to think about. And I hope it supports in your journey. 1, why? Why do you want to leave the U.S.? Now, you may look at me and say, hey, okay, have you not been watching the news? Yeah, and there are many people that are enjoying their time in the U.S., want to actually go back to the U.S. And so I ask you, why? Why do you want to leave? What is the real reason? And you may not actually know. You may think that you know why you're leaving, and it's on the surface. But once you leave the country and experience other ways of life, especially if you've never traveled outside the country before, it may be challenging for you to accept. It may be challenging for you to live without the conveniences, depending on where you're moving to, without the conveniences that you may be used to in the U.S. Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. You will find yourself. So if you are running away, not consciously leaving, if you are running away, I promise you, wherever you find yourself, let's say it's in Brazil or Costa Rica or Jamaica or Europe or West Africa, wherever you go, what you are running away from, you will find it in the new environment, in the new lands. So be mindful that you are actually moving from a centered space, not moving with fear, because that fear will follow you. The fear isn't real. You're creating it in your mind. So I promise you, you will recreate that in a different way in the new lands that you find yourself. So really sit down and meditate and ask yourself, why? Why am I desiring to leave? What is it that is speaking to me that is saying it's time for us to go? Number 2, what are your non-negotiables? What are your non-negotiables? What do you need to live in terms of your environment? Obviously, I'm assuming you found a way to take care of yourself financially. If not, that's a different conversation. But if everything is covered in terms of your finances, what do you need to be comfortable? Now, I live on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. And when I first got here, the rent was affordable in US standards, well, in New York standards, right? And the cost of living here was much lower than what it is now. It was much lower in comparison to New York City. Now, a lot of us, including myself, a lot of us expats, immigrants, left the States during the 2020 and beyond, and went to all these different countries that their cost of living was substantially lower. Then, and I wouldn't say innocently, but ignorantly, supported in increasing the cost of living in the various areas that we moved to. Now, a lot of us immigrants and expats came here with our comforts, our need for our comforts. So, for example, the AC, indoor kitchens. Not to say that Costa Ricans didn't have indoor kitchens, and not to say that Costa Ricans don't also have their comforts, because a lot of the people in the city life, like San Jose, you go into San Jose and you'll see apartments and homes just like you'll see in New York City. Specifically on the Caribbean side, it's a jungle. It's more of nature. You are immersed in nature. You are part of nature. And so, what is it that will keep you comfortable? If you're looking for AC, if you're looking for a certain amount of bedrooms and bathrooms, if you're looking for a certain type of style build, that is important for wherever it is that you are deciding to move to. Really writing down what are your non-negotiables. It has been a conditioning and a deconditioning being here. And so for those of you that are interested in leaving the States, my next point for you to think about is, where are you looking to go? I think that also falls into your non-negotiables, so to speak, but where are you looking to go? Have you thought about the different countries? Have you researched? Do you have friends in these different countries? This isn't to stop you from going. This is just for some things for you to think about. I have a few people that have reached out to me with interest in checking out Costa Rica, with interest in moving to Costa Rica, and actually most recently I helped a couple buy their home in Costa Rica. I have a background in real estate in New York City. I actually have my real estate license out of New York City. And that real estate hat, that hat that I've worn for 4.5 years in the past, has come back on, and I am supporting people in real estate out here as well. And so they put their deposit down, and the ball is rolling, and within 90 days they will have their brand new home, listening to the ocean. Like, their home is steps away from the ocean. Now, they are an interesting couple, an interesting case, because I had never met them before in person. However, through a friend, a dear friend of mine, she recommended me to them to reach out to me so I can support in what I thought was going to be a couples retreat for them to just experience the area the area that I'm in. And that's what they also thought. They were like, we just want to get out there, experience it, maybe find a rental place as we get used to the area before we make a purchase of a new home, because they were already planning on selling their home back in the States. I showed them a few places, and they fell in love with one, and we got the ball rolling sooner than I was even anticipating, and I believe that they were anticipating. So they are an interesting case where they didn't necessarily know the environment. I think they had Costa Rica on their list for a few years now and had been talking about leaving the States for a few years. So this brings me back to the first point on not running away. They already had it. They planted a seed that this is what they were interested in doing anyways. So be mindful or trust the environment that you're going to. They luckily had someone like me, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but if you're into human design, this will really make sense to you. But one, I'm a manifesting generator. Two, I am a 6'2". Three, my sense, like one of the senses, my sense is smell, which means I can sniff out when things aren't right. I can sniff things out in terms of the right home or person. I can sniff things out. And so they found the right person, one being me, two being my partner who is Costa Rican. So he has connections and contacts and experience here, especially in this location. For 12 plus years, I believe it's 13 years he's been in this area. So they were lucky enough to be connected to me as an immigrant expat in this country, and him as a citizen and native of this country, to have both of our experience and knowledge to support them in finding a brand new home. A new home for them to move to, and all that comes with that, which is not that much if you have the right guide. So if you are interested in moving to a new country, make sure it's also about who you know. Make sure you know the right people. Make sure you know what you're getting into, especially if it's a permanent move, especially if you're going to make a purchase. Next, it's going to go back to number one. Leave your stuff in the States. Leave all of your stuff in the States. Okay? The people in the new country that you're moving to, depending on where it is, are not anything or have anything to do with what you experience in the United States. Their viewpoints and their way of looking at life may be completely different than the way you view life, and you may not understand why they do what they do, and they more than likely will not understand why you do what you do, why you think the way you think, why you say the things that you say, why your mindset is the way that it is. But people in the United States have been conditioned, and similar to the people in the UK, we have been conditioned to essentially, for lack of a better word or description, this is a blanket statement, we have been conditioned to be fearful. And so a lot of the things that we think about, how we think, is based off of the fear. For example, when a couple came out here, they were so concerned with crime and basically trauma, if they were going to experience trauma in the new country. Now, any place that you go to, I've traveled to many different countries. I was an international flight attendant, so I had the privilege of being able to travel all over the world, not only for work, but at a very, very, very low discount. And so I knew I had to be mindful for my safety, depending on where I was traveling to, especially if I was traveling alone as a woman. But it wasn't the focus. It wasn't a part of my thought process. I would say maybe 5% of the time. I had already trained myself to be smart in how I navigated. So, for example, if I had a car rental and I was leaving a restaurant or a bar I would make sure I had my key in my hand before even stepping out of the establishment. So I'm not looking for my keys in my bag in the dark, outside, at night, in a strange land, in a new environment. I was always aware of my surroundings, not to a point where people saw that I was constantly looking around, but I think it's because of a previous partner. His father was or is a sensei, and a lot of the things that I learned about my awareness as it pertains to like being mindful of who's around me, what's around me, where the exits are, came from that time I spent with this partner. And so I took that with me. You know, when I traveled, I still am mindful of it. When I go into a place, I am aware of where the exits are. I'm aware of where people are at all times, and it's not something where it's like my neck is on a swivel, but more so of this innate awareness that there are specific people around me, and if there was anything that was about to pop off, I knew where to go, I knew who to be around, I knew what to potentially use as a weapon, or I know what to use as a weapon. And so I say all this to say, being mindful of your surroundings, but not being obsessed with the traumas that you experience in the States and bringing that along with you. That's just one example. But you may go through a deconditioning, if you allow yourself to, when you decide and actually find yourself in a new country. A lot of the things that you absorbed, learned, experienced will come up and will show you who you are amongst people that are not like you. Embrace that. You know, allow that to happen, because if you resist, you will more than likely find yourself back in the States. You will more than likely find yourself back in the States, because more than likely you'll experience that said thing, that thing that you have been focusing on or experiencing in the past. You'll experience it in the new environment, and then you will think that, oh wow, everywhere this is what happens and the whole world is against you, and you may play victim, you may start to talk badly about the new environment, not realizing that you just need to look in the mirror and realize that it's you. It's not the country. Let's get to some real stuff. It's not the country. It's not the man. It's not the woman. It's not the person. It's not the parent. It's not the job. It's not any of the things that you decide to blame. It is you, my love, beloved. It's you. And it's time for you to look into the mirror and see what is going on within you that is causing you to experience these same experiences over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Not to make a joke out of it, but to be serious and lighthearted. But in all honesty, leave your stuff in the United States. Leave your stuff in the UK. Because these two countries, if we think of them as people, as personalities, they're related. They're either mother and child, or cousins, or grandparent and child. Whatever analogy you want to use, they're related. So leave your stuff there. I think I'll do another video similar to this if any of you are interested in hearing more. The dog started barking. and I don't want this video to get too long, but if you are interested in moving out of the US or the UK, please take all of these points into consideration. I support people traveling. I support all of us, especially people that look like me, traveling, experiencing, and seeing the world, because it does change you for the better. You do become more of a human, honestly. You do become more of a human being because you're able to experience so many different cultures, ways of thinking, ways of being, and you're able to learn more about yourself through travel, through exposure to different people that are not within the bubble that you're used to being in. So I encourage you to travel, but I do also encourage you to be a mindful traveler and, as always, an intentional being. I'm losing light, and so I hope this video served you well. If you're interested in hearing more of this, please leave it down in the comment section below, and I will continue this conversation. But until next time, peace.